In the UK right now, there are currently 2.2 million students studying in higher education. A recent 2022 report found that as many as 4 in 5 students are impacted by their mental health. This undoubtedly has an impact on their studies. To bring awareness and attention and to support National University Mental Health Day, we have spoken to a few students from universities across the UK about their mental health experiences.
I'm Chloe, I'm 20 years old, I'm a second year politics student at the University of Liverpool.
Hi, my name is Bethan, I'm 19 years old and I study European Social and Political Studies at UCL.
Hi, my name's Beth and I'm part of NHS Youth Forum, which is a group working together to make services more young person centred, and I've been part of the mental health subgroup, so mental health is something that I'm hugely passionate about. I've also been an expert by experience and also part of the youth advice group, which works around mental health, removing the stigma and making services more accessible for young people.
People think that they're lazy, especially with attendance. I know a lot of universities report attendance now, and they often fail to see the reasons why students might not be engaging as much as they should.
I think as a student there's a big misconception that if you've got a mental illness they expect you to be sad all the time, they expect you to be a little crazy, not quite with it, and I think there's this big thing that you feel not accepted because you think that people won't take your illness seriously because they expect you to have all these different stereotypes when really you're not that person, and just because you might present fine doesn't mean you are fine, but equally you can have good days, you can have bad days like any other illness.
When I think of stigma around mental health struggles, I often think of the feeling of being ashamed, and shame being a really big part of that, and also nervousness and worries about acceptance as well.
I'm often seen as a quiet student, but in reality it's because I have such bad anxiety you just can't speak, and I definitely think lazy.
One thing I wish people understood when it came to students with mental health struggles is that it's a lot more normal than you think, and we just need help and support, and don't trivialise what we're going through because everyone's going through a different thing and we can't compare them.
So I wish people realise that mental illnesses, especially within young people, can be very invisible and people are very good at hiding them. So people think that you aren't struggling when really you are. You might be doing really well in your academics, but when you're alone, you're not okay and you haven't got that support, especially if you've moved away from home, you haven't got your family, you're with new people, which that on its own would create a lot of anxiety. And then if you're struggling as well with mental illnesses, the whole thing can get so overwhelming and people just assume that, oh, it's just a teenage phase or it's just how young people are and it's a big change, when really it's not, and it is actually an illness.
So I struggle with anxiety and depression, and I've had it all my life, but university has definitely increased it with all the stress. I had to leave university after first year because of anxiety, living alone, quite far from home. It was very difficult and it wasn't helped by the stress that university causes.
I was doing so well in studies, I was getting some of the top grades and I was working ridiculously hard, but that was because my mental illness was losing control on so many different elements of my life that it decided to control my studies instead.
And there also wasn't a lot of help available, so I really struggled being away, and I think lots of my friends did as well. I think it's quite common.
Whenever I stopped working, I'd feel guilty. It would make me feel like I'm worthless and like I needed to work harder. If I took a break, then I'd just feel like that I'm a waste of space and I need to be constantly working hard. So really people need to be open that what someone presents isn't actually how they're always feeling.
When I was in first year, I had some issues which led to mental health problems that impacted my studies, but my teachers were super supportive and I managed to receive all the help that I needed to be able to get through it and still continue being able to contribute academically as well.
As a university student, it's actually quite difficult because you have just changed from being a child to an adult. So although I was with CAMS when I was younger, I'm now no longer entitled to that, and I think that's always quite difficult. I've tried university counselling, but at my old university you were allowed about, I think, 2 sessions for free, and then you had to pay, which I could have done the 2 sessions, but then it would affect me having to come off it. You wouldn't be able to make a good relationship with them.
When I had a period of bad mental health at university, I reached out to my tutor, who was able to connect me with the right people, and so that I could get the support that I needed, and I was able to access counselling pretty quickly as well. So I was really lucky, and I always had a really good experience with it, and I was really well connected at my university to people who could help me if things went wrong.
So when I was in A-level, I did reach out for support, and the support I received was amazing, and I was lucky enough that I got put quite high up the waiting list, so I didn't have to wait that long. But then unfortunately I wanted to go to university and move away from home, so my postcode wasn't the same anymore. So for me to move away, I had to leave that service, and if I wanted to access mental health services again, if I went through my university, there's a bit of an induction, a wait. If I went through the NHS, there's probably a year or 2 waiting list, and because I was much better at that point, I would be at the bottom of the waiting list, potentially 2 or 3 years, especially in such a big area like Birmingham. So I don't think people realise that if you want to go away, you can't stay in the service you are. You don't get put to the top of the next waiting list, you're left all alone. I was lucky that I was in a good place, so I could go to university, and with my friends, family support, I would be okay and be able to do that. But people are having to give up their dreams, their studies, their life, so that they can stay at home, so that they can receive the services they support, or they might have been on a waiting list for 2 years, reached the front, and then they want to go to university and they can't. And universities are aware of mental health support, but the support isn't there. There's not enough for every single student. The waiting lists are still pretty long compared to NHS services. So really the support isn't there within universities and for students.
I've also applied for kind of volunteer therapy in Liverpool, run by the Young People's Advisory Service, but I've been on the waiting list for quite a while. And at the university they only offer single therapy sessions, and they say that's enough for most people. And it makes me wonder whether it is enough for most people, or whether they make you think that it's enough for most people.
It's my dream that all students are able to access timely, efficient and effective mental health services if they need it, and they're able to get it within a decent period of time, so that they're able to get help as quickly as possible, because I know it doesn't always happen, and also that the stigma around mental health changes, and that certain groups who might feel less comfortable about speaking out because mental health can be viewed as taboo also feel empowered to be able to get support as well.
I think prevention is better than cure, and yes, some people are going to start university with a mental illness, but then equally they could develop one while at university. So I think having those monthly check-ins, because when you're at school you have that tutor group, or you have a form tutor that will meet with you every morning, whereas there's no consistent person while at university. You're constantly moving modules, seeing new people, you're potentially in lecture theatres with 100 plus people. There's no personalised teaching, and you don't really get that personal relationship necessarily with your lecturers. So what would be amazing if they had those people that would meet with you every month and have those conversations and ask those questions. Are you okay? How are you feeling about university? Because reaching out for help can be really hard. So having those people that are asking you those questions so that you don't have to reach out for help, and those check-ins so that people can spot the early signs that you're struggling and do that prevention, rather than getting to a stage which things are too late and you've got to go on those waiting lists.
I think that there should be more support between CAMS and turning into an adult, and I also think that there should be more specialised support, such as sexual assault help, stress help, stuff to do with actually helping the reason why students get so anxious or depressed, they have these mental health issues. I think there should just be more general support. I also think therapy and counselling should be a lot easier to access, a lot destigmatised, because I only know about it because I googled it, but many other students don't. They don't advertise it, and I also think staff should be paid more so that they can put more into looking after the students' mental health. I think be kind to yourself. You need to realise that your health and your mental health, your physical health comes before anything else. University can wait and your mental health can't.
My advice to anyone who's struggling with their mental health is to reach out to people and tutors or college or your support system and see if they can help or connect you to the right services. And if you're not able to speak out about it, know that you're not alone, and hopefully you feel empowered to find the support that you need.
What you see of other people isn't what they are actually feeling. So yeah, you're human.
Speaking up about your mental health or asking for support does not make you a weak person and does not make you less. It means that you're acknowledging when you need help, and that's super important.